Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Nikita Vakhrushev. Welcome to the show, Nikita.
Thank you for having me on, Matt. You nailed the pronunciation of my last name. so,
Finally.
yep, that was good. Excited to be on. Excited to talk about all things marketing, as well as email and SMS and everything in between.
Awesome. Yeah, my last two episodes I released, I ended up tripping over my words when I tried to pronounce. I care. Anyway, yes, so you are the CEO and founder of well, it's behind you there, Aspect.
Yes. Yeah,
And
aspect.
Aspect. And that I murdered. See, I was going to mess something up.
You're
Where did you come
front
up with the
loading it.
name, Aspect? What is it? Does it stand for?
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it stands for nothing. My old roommate and I were just like, okay, I need to rebrand my agency because it used to be RPM Media Incorporated, which is way too long. So I'm like, okay, it needs to be one word. It needs to be available as a domain, and it should be slightly misspelled as all modern brand names are. So it's like, okay, Aspect is available as a domain, and then like, okay, let's do a K instead, and then let's flip it backwards to make it modern. So, and then it was purely logical. There's no, like, I don't want to say there's no heart to it when I
Right.
first made the decision. There's definitely heart in it now. But in the beginning, it was just like, okay, I just need a name that isn't current name and it's easy to brand.
I love that. Actually, it's always an interesting process to go through that. Like, do you like go to Namecheap or something, just start punching
Yeah.
things in?
Yeah. You look at the search history and it's just all like different domains. And you have to
Yeah,
get a .com, of course.
yeah. It's funny. I think back to what's fun too is then you can kind of assign meaning to it later. Years ago, I started a brand with another company called Hexeter,
Mm.
and I remember going through the process of choosing that through as a team. There was a bunch of people inputting, and we landed on Hexeter. And I'm like, I don't even know and I was in charge of the brand, like building this thing. I'm like, I have no idea. I think I had like, because the hex is in there, right? And then I had to figure out like how that would, I had this whole thing I built around it, and it was fun. It was fun. Anyway, enough about that. So the first time we have somebody on the podcast, we like to kind of get to know you a little bit, learn about your origin story,
Absolutely.
your
How far
journey,
back?
as far back as you think would be interesting.
Okay,
Probably
valid.
what mostly, speaking of the story of how you became an entrepreneur, or,
Yeah.
starting at Aspect, and kind of, yeah, if you had influences, if you were in, let's say you were in corporate world and you're like, screw this, I'm going to work for myself. I hate this stuff, whatever that is. But yeah, just go ahead and I'll throw it to you and tell us that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my entrepreneurship kick started off in high school. So I used to be part of print and design class in high school. It's like an extracurricular, like after school activity where you learn everything about like the Adobe suite. So like Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, anything that has to do with print and graphics. So I got really proficient at basically making my own t-shirts, mugs, like beer koozies, that sort of thing. So I got really good at print and design. And then eventually I started selling t-shirts and all these like swag accessories to kids in school that like maybe had like a meet or something come up, or maybe there was like a field day and everyone needed like team shirts and that sort of thing. So we had really good, like I had a really good, I guess, returning customer base, which is like classmates ordering like
Nice.
shirts for like 10 or $15. So that led into me starting my own Shopify store, which was about like 3, 4 years later, because I came across a Reddit thread of basically breaking down how you can start like a Shopify store, connect it to Amazon, and do everything except for the fulfillment part. So print on demand drop shipping. You upload your design, you do the marketing behind it, but the company like Printful or something like that would do the fulfillment for you, ship it out to the end user, and you make a $5 to $15 profit depending on the garment that you're selling. So that gave me like the base skill set of like, how do I set up a Shopify website? How do I do the email marketing side? How do I do Facebook ads, Google ads, that sort of thing. So from that point on, that's where I started to then have people come to me asking me like, hey, can you help me with my website? Or hey, can you install a Facebook pixel for me? Hey, can you make an email for me? And that led to more and more gigs, eventually paid gigs instead of like, yeah, sure, I'll do it for you. And that transitioned into like me being a freelancer or like a freelance marketer, and then eventually hiring a team on board in around 2020, having a team. And then 2021, we pivoted to just email and SMS marketing because of just trying to manage all different services for e-com brands like email, Facebook, TikTok, etc. got way too overwhelming. So we're like, okay, we need to focus on one niche and one service. And from that point on, we just stuck to retention and have been doing that ever since.
Very cool. That's actually a very nice arc. Some of the most successful people I've talked to, or many successful people I've talked to, started that way. They built something first.
Yeah.
They built the business. They learned how to do everything. They were in the weeds.
Well, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, okay, sure, I'll figure it out. And I just kept figuring it out until I have like employees and payroll and all this other responsibilities now.
And then you realize, oh, now you start talking to people like, and they're probably asking you how you did that. Could you do that for us? Could you help us do that?
Yep.
And then you just you start helping people, sounds like for free.
Yep. I mean, just family members or like friends that are like, hey, how do I like set up a Klaviyo integration? It's like, well, let me just do it for you at this point.
Yeah. And then that starts to build the stories and you can start speaking to those things. I did this for such and such a person. Then eventually you have value. You realize I should start charging.
Yeah. It came down to the fact like people just came to me and they just kept asking for more and more. And it's like, well, at this point I have to charge. And then that came an easy transition to having freelance work. And then 2020 just accelerated that completely because like everyone went online. All businesses needed like some sort of digital presence. So it was like, unfortunately for the rest of the world, it sucked. But for me, 2020 was great because business boomed. And it eventually led to me making my first hires and then eventually just building out the team that I have today.
So that was, okay. So you're building a team and I mean, do you kind of figure that out as you went? You built a team for the e-commerce store or whatever you built first?
No, honestly, I was just running it solo because it was like that and then like being like a part-time college student. So I had a lot of time on my hands and we weren't doing too much on the e-com brand side. Like it was, well, like not too much, like it was a hell of a lot of money for me at the time, but it was like 10 grand a month. And then after expenses and everything, it was like, I think I was clearing like 2K a month. And as a college student that didn't have to go to a physical retail store or push carts or bag groceries, I was like, this is a huge win for me. Like, like I'm rich. But then eventually it's like, well, I need an apartment. I need a car, groceries. And it's like, well, $2,000's not really that much. Like you can live off of it, but it's not like you're not thriving at that point. So it's like, okay, let's transition into doing more service-based work because then that's almost 100% margin. And it made more sense because like I like the aspect of like learning something and then applying it and seeing the immediate feedback behind it, or like seeing like people be like, whoa, this is great. Like, thank you for help setting this up. And then it's like, okay, it's validation. Whereas with like ecom, it was less like, okay, I'm just behind a computer screen trying to figure out the numbers, trying to figure out creative, trying to figure out what works or what offers work. So it wasn't as it wasn't as fulfilling. It was just like sitting behind a computer all day trying to figure out how to market a product.
Right. Yeah. And so when you started to hire a team, that was kind of something you had to figure out along the way too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't, like everything that I've done in my business at this point, I've just brute force figured out. Like the first 3 years of of the business side of things, like it felt like I'm just failing constantly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until like 2019, 2020 when things like just really clicked and I was able to like, okay, I understand how things are marketed to a general audience. I understand how the pixel tracking actually works in congruency with everything else that you're running in your marketing stack. Like everything the feedback loop just sped up faster and faster to the point where like, okay, cool, I need a team. Then, okay, how do we hire? I asked everyone in my circle, like, okay, how do you go about hiring? They did help me out with that, but at the same time, I still, tuning your gut comes from experience. So like the first couple of hires may not have been the best, but it tuned my gut to look out for like, okay, I love these characteristics about people, but I don't like these characteristics about the people that I hired before. So let's go ahead and like, how do we amplify this and reduce this?
Right.
And you do that enough times. I mean, at this point, I think I've probably done like 400 or 500 interviews to just get to the point of like, okay, cool. I know what a bullshitter looks like, and I know what a person that knows what they're talking about looks like. So it just comes down to like doing it.
Okay, so what does a bullshitter look like?
They say the right answers, or like at this point it's really easy because you have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT almost knows everything to like a good degree. But back before 2023 or 2022, whenever it came out, it was just like saying top of the line, like top of funnel metrics, or like basic metrics that you would look at like on the ad side or the email side. And then you dive deeper, and they wouldn't really have an answer, or they would say like, "Oh, I have an NDA with a client. I can't share a case study." And it's like, okay, cool. Like that's all good. Can you do a test then and set up these ads for me, or can you set up these emails for me, or design new emails? And they would either drop out of the interview process, or they just wouldn't come up with a good product because you kind of have to back up your words,
right?
And they couldn't.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I want to say it was Elon Musk or somebody that talked about how he interviews and stuff. This is years ago, so I could be getting that wrong. But I remember it being a thing though, where it's like if you ask somebody like how they solved a problem or whatever, the people that really are good at what they do and love what they do are going to get excited, and they're going to tell you every detail and the decisions made and the problems they had to solve. Just go into depth about that thing. But somebody, like you said, is a bullshitter and is trying to get a job and hope for, like they're going to, there's going to be walls there. They're not going to be able to, they're going to be stumbling over their words or just not giving you, and they'll even probably focus on things or talk about things that don't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where you can like sideline a conversation. It's like, okay, you're talking about a completely different thing. But what taught me was like, okay, just stick to the topic. If they didn't answer the question, just ask the question again. And if they really can't answer it, then it's like, okay, like we might have to cut the interview short because it's just not like they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like talking to someone about like planes or train or cars or even like housing. It's like, okay, like you kind of know what to look for, but like they don't. And it's like, well, it clearly shows after the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And so you've built this team now. And how many people you got working for you?
We have 6
people.
Yeah.
And so the other thing you mentioned, and I'm kind of curious about, which is also a big topic for businesses, and even for me right now, I'm actually, as I get into the AI space, I run a web design development agency, and as we get into the AI space, it's like, what do? We do AI.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? UX, UI, design, something. We're doing something, but I've been, spending a lot of time strategizing and figuring out how I can narrow that into a specific lane. And it sounds like that's something you did too, as now you've landed on SMS, email, but you were doing a lot of things at first. And did that just kind of grow out of that, just trying a lot of different things, seeing what you get and getting the experience? And how did that play out?
Well, the great thing about I think about this all the time. And I talk about this with my girlfriend all the time of like, okay, if I were to go back to when I started, like with everything that I know now, I'd make different decisions. But going back to like what I knew back then, I think every decision I made along my life made me who I am today to the point where like, okay, starting my own Shopify store, that taught me the basics of most things marketing, like at least how to like run a Facebook ad, how to send out an email, how to capture email subscribers. And then that eventually led into me then doing that for other people, which then reinforced that skill even more, like taught me intricacies about, okay, what are bid caps, what are cap costs, type of like, what's impression-based charge or what's like result charge. All of these different things led up to then like, okay, I now know how to operate Facebook ads. I now know how to operate email. Okay, how do we do this with a team? Or how do we scale this up? And then eventually that taught me like, okay, cool. Like now we're doing things at a way higher level, higher budgets. And now you can kind of see the risk and the reward behind each marketing channel. And that's eventually what led us to the decision of becoming an email and SMS only service provider. Because after having about 2 years of data of running all different marketing channels for all different types of clients, I realized, okay, well, the clients that stay on the longest are the ones that do email marketing. So it's like, okay, boom, like retention is the highest. Results are the highest for email marketing clients because we have a 95% success rate for email, but a 60% success rate for Facebook. So 4 out of 10 clients will likely burn out or churn within the first 2 to 3 months, which is not very confidence inspiring when you're trying to sell on a call, when a client just churned earlier in the afternoon and you're trying to sell someone on a new retainer. So those kinds of things and that kind of experience over the years taught me, like, okay, cool. I now, in my gut, like, I know going towards email is the right decision, even though short term it's going to suck saying no to money from the Facebook ad retainers.
Right.
And that eventually caused the decision to just pivot into email. And it's like, okay, let's just do it and go through the pain, but eventually it'll work out, which it has at this point.
Yeah. And just to speak to getting that all that experience over the years, I think that's really important. Even if you land somewhere and you find your vertical, your niche, your thing you do, having that broader experience. Like I can kind of relate in my agency where I go back like 20 plus years. In the 2000s, I was doing email marketing. I was doing paid advertising. I was doing all that stuff back then. Marketing, internet marketing, whatever you want to call it back then, affiliate marketing. I learned a lot in those years and how to sell digital products, how to do all that stuff. And then when I pivoted back in like 2012 to do web design development, I had all that background in marketing, and then learning, being a freelancer, learning, doing all the other stuff I did. Everything I've done informs what I do today. It enables me to have probably more productive conversations with other people, other marketers, other marketing teams, digital marketing agencies to talk to. Even though I'm doing the web design development, understanding that language and understanding the big picture is very beneficial. So
well, that's
that's kind of the same for you.
The different experiences, if anything, lead to better results on our end, because the team leads that we have now have also been with us since the Facebook ad days and the landing page days. So all that experience that not only I have, they also have, and they understand how all these different channels play into retention marketing and how we can utilize retention marketing to an advantage that plugs into everything else. Whereas, like, if we were to start an email agency from scratch today, it's like you don't know how Facebook ad works, you don't know how limiting budgets work, you don't know how an ad account being shut down genuinely tanks your business. So all these little things and all these little nuances that I picked up and my team members picked up is what helps us drive the results that we drive for our clients today.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about email marketing. So I said I used to be, back in the 2000s, up until I was pretty good at it. I built some lists. I made good money from it. The last decade, I've tried it off and on and just have not succeeded at all. I will admit it. I'll throw myself under the bus. I suck at email marketing these days, but I'm not doing the same things I did back then. So, but you decided to make kind of that your focus. It sounds like because you're getting great results. First of all, I guess let's kind of define what email marketing is and kind of like what the benefits are and why everybody should be doing it.
The best way, and I'm sure you probably heard this because you're in the internet marketing space or just the general marketing space, is a lot of the social platforms that are popular and bring in a lot of revenue today is rented land. So like at any point, TikTok could take away your account, Instagram could take away your account, Meta could take away your Facebook account. Like all of that stuff is possible. And trust me, as someone that's been running ads for more than 5 years, I've had my account taken away from me at least once a year to then get it reinstated. Yeah. But that week to 2 week time of where like you don't know if you're going to get your ad account back or your socials back, it sucks. Whereas with email, it's owned land. You own the email list. Once you have someone submit a consent that they want to receive email communication or SMS communication, you're now able to send out information to that customer, whether it's sales, promos, new product launches, for essentially like little to no cost. Whereas with advertising, you have CPMs, cost per milli, which is like cost per 1,000 people reached, which is like $15 to $100, maybe even more, depending on the niche. With email, if you have a list of 10,000 people, that reach is only what you're paying the monthly subscription for. And if you have an agency, obviously there's that additional cost. But for us, like the average return on our retainer is 10 to 15 with the revenue that we provide for the businesses we work with. So you can reach those people cheaply. You have that list. So it's almost like a moat for your business. So if your ad account gets shut down or if you get banned off a platform, you can still utilize that list of existing customers or existing subscribers to promote your message and to push out any messaging to generate more revenue for the business. So it's like, it's more control for your business in a way.
Makes a ton of sense.
Sorry, I word vomited at you on that one.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think about social media because, that is something that I'm kind of ingrained in these days with my agency and everything. And
yeah.
And even though it's pretty solid still, it's not even just that they could go away. They could change the algorithm or just the way things work.
Yeah.
Or don't work, or people get, it's still a thing, but that's why I have tried many times to find different angles to build a list, because I understand that it's kind of like having a website. That's your real estate. That's something that's going to be that no one can take away from you.
Exactly.
And that's a really good reason. And so from an email marketing perspective, now are the clients you work with, are they typically people that have stores, e-commerce, or is it other types of businesses? And then how have they built their lists? Have they built it just through the sales they've made, or partnerships, or how do they do that?
Yeah, so the main clientele that we work with is e-commerce brands. So whether they're on Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento, like those big four. I know there's other ones, but those are the main four that we work with. And they typically already have an existing list set up. We just help amplify it a little bit further. The couple main ways that they've grown their list and the ways that we help grow their list is not only capturing the people that have already bought, because you need an email and a phone number to submit an order, but we also use pop-ups. So the things that you see once you land on a website. Obviously, we strategically change the offer or make sure that the offer is enticing enough to get a subscriber. Number one, we optimize when that pop-up fires. So instead of it immediately firing when you load up a website, which is very annoying, we wait till a certain percentage of scroll, or we wait until maybe 10 to 15 seconds have passed before we fire that pop-up. Because if someone bounces off the website within the first 3 seconds, that doesn't count as an impression. But typically, if they're already on the website for 10 seconds or longer, then they're going to be staying on that website for at least 30 to 60 seconds. So we might as well get their email between that time period before they bounce off. But outside of that, we also have ran giveaways and collaborations in order to grow email lists. We've also worked with Facebook ad teams on the client's behalf to launch lead generation or like form submission ads, as well as embedding email signups within their blogs or within any information on the website to get an email capture there as well. So there's different ways that you can get emails captured into your website or your list, but those are the main ways that we handle that.
Yeah, and capturing emails is so important. I remember this goes way back, so forgive me. We're talking like 20 some years ago.
You want to bring up VHS?
Yeah, right. It was my first product that actually got some traction. I sold like 300 digital it was a small ebook at the time, and I remember I didn't capture the emails, and I guess I was so not used to selling anything, so and I just remember that was the lesson though. Like, I had 300 people I couldn't follow up with. I'm like, what did I do? And from that moment forward, it was super important for me. But it's interesting though. I think there's customer lists alone are a gold mine that probably a lot of stores aren't really taking full advantage of. And I can speak to that from an example of a client I've had for years. And I just remember we're not, I do the web design development, maintenance, take care of their stuff, their infrastructure, but it's a multi-million-dollar company, right? Or revenue every year.
Yep.
And I remember that they had an agency come in a couple of years after I started helping them, and had an agency come in, and I didn't know what was going on in terms of their email, but apparently they weren't doing anything with their email. And it was a game changer. I saw them start to implement things and really focus on that aspect. And I think it had a pretty big impact. But that was something that they were doing probably minimal stuff, but they weren't actually marketing to them like they should. Mm-hmm. And then they started focusing more on bounces or abandoned carts and all that good stuff, which they were able to do that. But
email is one of those channels. It should be taken as seriously as all the other channels. It may not be as sexy as Facebook ads or TikTok or I mean, at this point, Sora's out with like AI videos, so like it's not as sexy as that, but it's just as important as something like SEO or conversion rate optimization for websites, where it's like it's boring, but man, does it make you money if you know how to do it right. And for us, typically, the email list should make about 20 to 30% of the company's revenue, or maybe add an additional 20 to 30% of additional revenue. So if done right with the right amount of automation flows, so whether it's the welcome, abandonment, post-purchase, cross-sell, or the campaign cadence that you're sending out, whether it's once a week, once every couple weeks, as well as list management and deliverability, once you take those things seriously enough and you have the right amount, have the right strategy for it, then you're able to properly monetize on that list.
Yeah. And you monetize it via special offers or just
products that you sell.
Some kind of newsletter that just keeps them up to date, depending on the product, I suppose, and what they're able to talk about. You know, I think some products are probably more boring than others.
Well, look, we were able to hit those revenue markers for a brand that sells dental retainers, and that's as boring as you can get. You know, like, I don't like tell people to floss and they're not going to floss, but like put in a dental retainer, you know, to align your teeth straight, like that's even worse. So like, if you can make that exciting through, you know, having engaging content like testimonial highlights or product launches, or even going over like funny customer stories where like one customer put a testimonial in for their dog eating a retainer, and like their dog ate their retainer, so they had to reorder a new one. We made a little story around that, and that sold like hotcakes because it's fun, it's engaging, and it's relatable. But like having content that is something that not only you would read, but also like your customers would find engaging is also what drives revenue. It doesn't always have to be offers, promos, and sales.
Yeah, I see some people do that really well. They leverage like customer stories and things like that. And the other thing you mentioned too is, you know, the people on your list, just like I guess people on social media, maybe even more so with the email list, though, is they become really your fans.
Yeah.
Your family in a way, depending on what you're doing. But and they can follow as you progress, and if you launch a new product line or a whole new website or whatever, you already are able to leverage what you've built this whole time, which would not be as easy on social and other platforms or channels. So that's another benefit too, right?
Well, that's why it's an own channel. So like it's a lot easier to push out a new, like if let's say you spent the last 6 months developing a brand new product, maybe sunk like 50 to 100 grand to like develop that product, maybe even more, and you put it out on TikTok and it doesn't go viral. You put it out on Reels, it doesn't go viral, but you know, you have a list of 40,000 people on your email, and let's say 5,000 of those are VIPs and people that have purchased multiple times over and over. Those people are going to buy. So we try to stage product launches on the email side as well to make sure that like not only are we capitalizing on the social side, but also capitalizing on the email side by launching there first to get initial feedback faster rather than waiting for the algorithm to catch up or spending an extra 5 to 10 grand on ads on top of what you've already spent. So it's an easy way to not only collect cash quick, but also collect engagement and just customer sentiment and feedback right away without having to maybe wait 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get that feedback.
Yeah. And you're building authority with these, when you have buyers versus freebie people or people on social media randomly, they're much more niche. They're people that are interested. If they're on your list, you either bought something or they're interested in what you're selling or kind of what you do.
Legitimizes the brand too. Like, I'm sure you've gotten the website may have looked beautiful on what you ordered, and then you get an email and it's like the basic HTML email or like the basic like template you get from Klaviyo or MailChimp, and it's like, this doesn't look as professional as I thought it was. So
you're saying, you know, you should align your brand, like spend
100%
time on what you're sending out.
Well, yeah, it's almost like you just mentioned, like it builds authority. It builds authority like, oh, I bought from a legitimate company or what looks like a legitimate company, and it reaffirms your belief that like, okay, cool, I made a bet on buying this $30 product from this company, and like, okay, it makes sense. Like I'm getting the right communication. It matches the styling of the website with the emails or with the SMS. So like it all seems congruent rather than like facade, the great website. And then on the back end, when you're getting the email comms, it's like, it's 10 years old almost, and it doesn't feel like it connects with the brand.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any stories you can share like maybe a case study or two that just like somebody that you helped take from either we don't do email or we don't pay any attention to it at all to you coming in and changing that and what that looked like?
Yeah, there was a brand that we took on around this time, yeah, like mid October last year. And they just wanted Black Friday, or they wanted their flows updated and then their Black Friday emails set up and their Christmas emails set up, and that's it. And we're like, yeah, sure, we could do that. And at the time, email was being managed by one of the co-founders. It was just like one person was the operations and logistics, one person was marketing. So the marketing co-founder was handling email and Facebook ads. So he's like, hey, I also want this off my plate. Can you please handle it for us? And at the time, they were doing about 200,000 per month in sales just overall, and email was doing about 10 to 15,000. So significantly below that 20 to 30% threshold. Now, we went ahead and implemented all of our changes, ran their Black Friday, which went well. I think we did about 110,000 during Black Friday. But the real fun began when their high season turned out, which was around early mid-spring to late summer. That's when they get the most amount of orders, the most amount of seasonality purchases done through that time. And at that time, they're running at a 300,000 a month clip overall for the brand, and email was bringing in consistently from 80 to 110,000 per month. So again, a third of their revenue was coming in from email compared to last year. It only brought in maybe 30,000 a month from the co-founders' efforts. So them
Nice.
delegating it not only bought them time, but also brought in an extra 100 grand in revenue per month.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And what was the biggest takeaway from that? What were they? Was it just? I mean, you have a founder that's trying to do it all, and you got somebody now that's dedicated to doing it with the experience. What was the biggest game changing thing that you did for them?
I think their biggest unlock was similar to what I mentioned before, where their website was beautiful. It looked great, on brand, very modern, but their emails were templatized from
Okay.
the limiting creativeness from the founder. So as a co-founder, not only are you responsible for marketing, but then also all the other responsibilities of the business. So for them, offloading it to an expert unlocked creativity to not only match their website's legitimacy, but also being able to consistently have a cadence of sending out emails. Because as a founder, it's okay, cool, I'm going to sit down, write an email, boom, fire comes up, that email doesn't get written, it gets forgotten about until a week later of oh man, I forgot to send that. I need to send another one. Another fire comes up, that gets missed, and then it's been a month since you sent the last email. So having a consistent cadence of sending out 2 to 3 emails per week, but also having a strong, robust automation infrastructure is what helped with not only bringing up their flow revenue, but also their month-over-month campaign revenue.
Yeah. How important is consistency? Because it's the same way with social media, with other channels, is being consistent.
It's as important as social media, where you fall out of relevancy or maybe you don't get as much reach. Now, you're not getting as much reach as before, but that's because of deliverability. So here's an example of I wouldn't say a negative case study, but it's the inverse of what I just talked about, where we had a client come on board earlier in the year, around February, March, and they just wanted us to update their flows, and that's it. We did our job, took about a month, got our flows updated, and I'm like, hey, look, we also have these templates. I highly recommend you send out these templates as soon as these flows go live, so that way you keep up with the cadence and that you're constantly sending out emails at least once a week at least. And they didn't do that. It took them about 6 months before they started to send out emails. And then I get a text randomly, last month, of hey, Nikita, all of our emails are going to spam. Do you know what the reason is? I go to their Klaviyo account, I look, and the last email that was sent was in February. And it's okay, guys, there's a reason why most of your list isn't responding, because they haven't seen you in the inbox for almost a year now.
So that
needs
gap
to
of
get
time,
fixed.
that gap of time kind of puts you in a bad state in terms of
Well, you start to
email,
atrophy your list at that point, because if let's say you had a list of 30,000 people in February and you had like a good 60%, 50% open rate. So like half of those people open up. When you don't consistently keep sending those emails, like those people just forget about your brand. Like they move on with their life. So when you start emailing again, those people don't, like, they forgot, like, oh, I forgot about this brand, or they just don't even open it up because it's not something that they look forward to on a weekly basis anymore. So they forget, they don't open those emails, and those open rates tank because like Google now sees, or Yahoo or Apple Mail, they now see that, like, oh, this isn't relevant anymore, so we're just not going to deliver it to people's inboxes anymore, and your emails go to spam. So it's like a negative feedback loop that starts the longer that you don't send out communication.
Gotcha. And I'm curious too. You said a week, once a week. Even for me, it's like that's even for me because I'm still doing all my own email, right?
Right.
That's a lot.
Same. Yeah.
I mean, I like once a month or every other week. But are these emails typically from brands and stuff? Are they all custom, or can they do like a drip campaign or like a automated emails, like, write out 26, 52, whatever, and have those automatically send out once a week, and that becomes a thing? And maybe that's because I've worked with, depends on, again, the type of business and stuff, but there's certain people, maybe me included, that have done that where we build out 52 and then that just either repeats or we refresh that list every year, and it's just general tips and different things. Or is it more time is spent on it, it's more custom every week that you're sending out and somebody's building these emails, and it's related to, ties right into what's happening right now with offers and things like that?
So yes, you can bulk all the year's worth of emails in like 1 week and just schedule them out to send out once a week. We've done that before. I've done that before personally for like the company, because it's like I just don't want to worry about this for the next 3 months or 4 months. But if you're like, I think that's a good option if you're limited as a founder with your time. Like if you just don't want to worry about it for a couple months and just spend one day, build out all the emails for the next 3 months, and then just set and forget, that's really cool. Like you can do that. But if you want someone to constantly touch the retention side of it and consistently keep up to date with the numbers, the metrics, and see like if we need to test or if we need to pivot or change ideas, that's where having weekly cadences comes into play, because we're always in the account, if not daily, every other day, to make sure like, okay, there's no spam complaints or everything is working. Because sometimes like something could be broken and you wouldn't even know it for a couple months, and then it's like, well, my list could have gotten halved, or like my deliverability could have been down this whole time, and I'm just making it worse by constantly sending emails to people that are already not opening them. So it's those little things like that you have to check and monitor. Maybe not send once a week, but like batch it, but check once a week to make sure that everything is running smoothly before having the next send go out.
Yeah. I just think, I think from what I'm hearing from you, and I think that probably makes a ton of sense, is if you really want to be good at email marketing or have somebody help you to be good at email marketing, it's paying a lot more attention to it, caring more, and being more present, checking the stats, keeping an eye on and making sure that your domain is doing good and everything is in order. So just being a lot more caring in that department, instead of just writing out a bunch of emails, throwing it in MailChimp, hoping for the best for the next year.
Well, it's like, would you rather run a marathon in 1 day with no training, or would you rather run the marathon over the course of 45 days, but just split up that distance, Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Well, I have one last thing to ask you, because it's something I got to ask everybody, because it's it affects everybody. How is AI, that darn
I love this question.
two-letter word, how is that affecting what you're doing as email marketing? Is it for better or for worse, in terms of how things are done, approached, whether that's from the writing perspective, just from just running email campaigns?
It's helped us speed up things that I didn't realize it would help. So, the biggest one is like copywriting. Like, you don't have to worry about copy anymore. Yes and no. You still have to check over copy. It still messes up copy constantly, even to this day. Like, there hasn't been an email that we sent out that's been like directly copy and paste. It's not possible. But the things that it has helped us out with have been like customer sentiment analysis or testimonial analysis, like bulk testimonial, like having like 100 testimonials plugged in and seeing like, okay, what are the things that they love? What are the things that they hate? How can we create angles that for the things that they hate, how can we handle the objections? How can we double down on the things that they love in the email side? It also helps with data analysis, so getting analytical data and seeing like, okay, cool, like which emails have had the best open rates, have had the best revenue rates. How can we adjust the strategy to have, ones that make the most money? How can we reduce the ones that make the least amount of money? So those little things where it used to take a lot of manual hours and a lot of manual labor, not only on my end, but also on our team lead's end, now is sped up significantly because AI can help with building out customer avatars, building out their sentiment, building out what kind of emails they respond to, and making sure that that's all within the language, I wouldn't say language parameters, but like speaks the lingo that they speak in order to relate better and sell better and just make more money overall for everybody.
That's actually incredible. It's doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's not just like you'd think email marketing, well, they're just using it to create the emails. You're actually it's the data. That's not the first time I've heard somebody, I kind of smiled when you said that. That's the first time I've heard somebody be like analyze testimonials, like just drop it in and really get to the root of what people care about or having issues with or whatever. That's actually a really good use case.
I mean, we do it for not only the brand, but also competitors. So when you analyze the competitors and you see all the things that they hate, then you can attack that on the emails that you have and be like, we're nothing like this brand.
Right.
Like, we don't do these kinds of things. We have fast shipping. We don't have slow shipping. We have natural products. They use chemicals. Like that sort of thing. Like that's where you can have like an us versus them moment and position yourself to be a better product because of what the other brands people say about their product.
This is what I think, where AI is the strength. It's not necessarily, I won't say it's not replacing any people, but it's making the people that are using it better and more efficient, and you're able to just do a lot more with data and come to better conclusions with it and stuff. So it's really interesting. So who do you like to work with the most? Like, is it just like e-commerce brands? Is there like a niche or an industry you like to work with? I'm just kind of curious about that.
At this point, we've worked with more niches than we haven't, if that makes any sense. So, we worked in all the big ones like supplement, fashion, beauty, CPG, automotive, outdoor, technology, medical accessories, or medical technology. So typically, like our barrier is e-commerce brands that are doing above 100 to 150,000 per month. We have worked with less, but that's like 100 to 150 is where we see the biggest increase in revenue. And the biggest justification for like the investment into the email side.
Yeah, they can actually pay you.
Well, I mean, yeah.
There's a certain threshold, even for us. Like, there's a certain threshold where we're not going to be able to help you because you're not going to be able to, but that makes a lot of sense. So you're kind of, and so I imagine when you tackle a business or any industry or whatever, you just learn everything you can about that, or they're able to inform you and work together with them on the content.
That's what we do within the first week is handle all of the understanding of their ideal customer, understanding of their audience, doing any technical fixes and technical cleanup on their account. And then from that point on is when we get into actually building the emails, building the design, getting feedback, making sure everything that we create is what the client loves, and then just doing that better over the time.
Nice. Well, if somebody is interested in learning more about what you do specifically, your agency, where can they find you on the World Wide Web?
Yeah, aspectagency.com, ASPEKT agency.com. And for everyone that has listened to the podcast and wants to know more on where their money is hiding in their email list, you can sign up for a free audit. Just say that you came in from this podcast and it'll be comped for you. But if you also want to learn more on like how to get better at emails or just a better understanding, I also have weekly YouTube videos go out on all things email, SMS, and retention.
Nice. I got to check that out.
It's just my name, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just your name, Nikita V.
Yeah.
For those on the podcast or listening in, you said I could just call him V.
Yep.
Yeah, I could skip the whole last name. I'll let you pronounce it.
Yeah, it's just Nikita Vakhrushev.
Gotcha. No, it's been really good, Nikita. This has been amazing. And if you hang out in the World Wide Web too, are you like in LinkedIn, or somebody wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a good spot to reach out. Instagram, yeah, I think those are probably the best.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks for sharing everything. It's really inspiring. These conversations always get me excited about actually maybe I'll figure out email marketing again one of these days. I know how important it is. But anyway, until next time, take care of yourself. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.